That word means so much more than its 4 letters suggest. R, that letter, stands alone. When you see someone wearing a blue block R, you're talking with a Realtor. Your local neighborhood Realtor can help you find your first home, your next home, or help you sell the one you have. Next time you think home, think Realtor. The brand makes the difference. This message brought to you by the members of the Spokane Association of Realtors. Welcome to Let's Talk Spokane, where host Ryan McNeese seeks out and discusses the latest on a variety of hot local topics. Now, here's your host, Ryan McNeese.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Spokane Talks Online. My name is Casey Cloninger, and I'm actually standing in for Ryan today for today's new program. I'm here to help you guys, our listeners, tackle the number one fear in America, public speaking. Now, I couldn't do this job on my own. I'm not a motivational speaker. I don't have a degree yet. But to help me teach you guys today is actually one of my professors from Eastern Washington University, Steve Stewart. Thank you for being here with us today.
No problem. Steve. It's a joy to be here with you, Casey. And she's a very good student, and she will graduate, and she's all set for this.
Thank you. Now, this is actually my first program that I've done, so sorry you're the guinea pig here.
No, I'm more pleased to be so. That's great.
Good. I'm very excited you could come in. So how many years have you been teaching public speaking at Eastern?
I was thinking back on this on my bus ride down from the north side of town this morning. 10 years.
Wow.
It seems like yesterday, but it's been 10 years.
It's been 10 good years?
Yeah, 10 good years. Yeah.
Good. Did you ever think at such a young age that you would, in fact, be teaching a class about how to help overcome the number one fear in America?
No and yes.
Yes? No?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, the no part, I'm thinking there's no way I would ever get up and do these things that I do in class, teaching, instructing, public speaking, no way. But I grew up back in southeast Ohio, small town, and I got many opportunities because it was a small high school.
Yeah.
And so if you didn't do it, it didn't get done. So I just started getting up in front of people and doing things. And then I went to college and went to a small school in west central Ohio. From there, I took a broadcasting speech degree out to Montana, and then eventually over here to Spokane. And I was always behind the mic like we are today.
Yeah.
And I did that for probably 27 years behind the mic. And my wife went back to school and got her master's out at Eastern in creative writing. And I would go down and pick her up every once in a while at night class, after night class. And I got to reading things about the Comm Studies master's degree. And thought, maybe I should think about this, because I've done this broadcasting thing for a while. I need to do something different. So I decided to go ahead and go back to school 10 years ago. Took the 2-year degree program, taught the basic course, and I really liked being in front of a live audience and spontaneously talking with them and them interacting with me. And it was different than just in front of a microphone like we are today.
Yeah.
So that's how I kind of am where I'm at now. And for 10 years, it's been great. I enjoy going to school every day.
Good. I wish I could say the same, but
you will once you stop the courses. See?
Exactly. So through this talk that we're going to be doing today, we're going to be discussing 3 main parts that help make up the foundation of public speaking, the 3 Ps, preparation, practice, and the final presentation. So by knowing how to do these properly and accomplish them, you're already on your way to helping yourself beat the anxiety and the fear that you have for public speaking. But before we get into those, Steve, we should start out with kind of addressing what the actual fear of public speaking is.
Well, that all depends. And let me unpack that all depends. It works differently for different people. And if you remember back in class, we talked about it. It's called many things, but usually the textbooks will say public speaking anxiety. And indeed, that word anxiety is the key. And public speaking, at least figures from some of the textbooks, 75% of students that take a public speaking course approach it with anxiety, or can we just call that plain fear?
Yep, I was one of those.
You were?
I was.
But you made it through, right?
I did, yes.
Which is part of the 3 Ps.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So is it kind of safe to say that people will find different things that work for them throughout this program and some things just might not work for them?
I would say so. You almost it has to be customized to your personality, also customized to what type of framework or the purpose of your speech, where you're going to be presenting it, how large the audience is going to be, what you want to have your speech do in the end, the goal for that speech, all kinds of those things.
Okay, cool. It's great information. So now that we kind of have an idea of what the overall fear of public speaking is, we should get a little bit into the the preparation work that goes on into creating a speech and getting ready for that. So before you even start writing your speech, what are some things that you want to think about?
Well, you want to think about your topic for one thing. What is it that you want to talk about? And many times you want to, if you have an opportunity to choose your topic, you want to choose something that you yourself are interested in, that you enjoy, that you maybe are passionate about. Then it's easy to engage your audience with something that you already know enough about, maybe to be dangerous. You may want to do a little more work on it.
Yeah.
But you have the initial enjoyment of what you want to talk about. You move from there to then unpacking it into making it interesting, making it clear, making it memorable.
Clear and memorable.
Yeah.
Good. That was one of the things that I really took away from your class was when you're thinking about writing a speech is just to take your passion out from it. I remember I did a speech I climbed Mount St. Helens, and I think that was one of my favorite speeches that I've ever gave because it was something that I was just very passionate about, and I could just express all my feelings for that to the audience, and I think they enjoyed it.
Oh, we did. And you had slides to go along with. So any type of
yeah.
pictures, especially with you and people that are involved, also just enhance the engagement of your audience in what you're talking about.
So for the outline, how would you go about that in just the easiest way possible?
Well, we're in the preparation stage,
Yes.
right? So we're preparing for the speech. You have your topic, and maybe it's a broad topic, but you have to narrow it down. Maybe your topic was, I enjoy the outdoors. And you narrowed it down to, I want to talk about my climb of Mount St. Helens.
Yeah.
So you narrowed your topic down. Now you want to divide it. I think it's always easy, just like make it clear, interesting, and memorable, to break things into threes. We seem to be, as human beings, we remember things in threes more than anything else. So walking with the preparation, making an outline, you want to make a basic outline into 3 parts. Remember the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. And you write a paper just like you put together a speech presentation. So you want to break it into 3 parts: intro, body, and conclusion. Then you add to those 3 parts.
Yeah. Is there any say in, do you put the most important points first, or do you lead up to the most important points in your body?
Yeah, so you're talking about the order
Yeah,
of how you want to do things. And many times that can be up to you as well. Unless you're doing a speech on, let's say, how to change the oil in a vehicle. Well, there's a proper order to that. So it's very chronological. You have to do A before you do B, or else C is not going to work for you, kind of thing. But like your trip to Mount St. Helens, you put it into any kind of order you want to begin with, because you are the expert in what you're talking about. So you can go ahead and put that into some sort of order. But the order is next. Yeah, you have the 3 parts, and you break those 3 parts or unpack them in an order of some sort.
Okay, great. So now that we have kind of gone over the preparation a little bit, before we go into break, let's start talking about the practice stage before the big presentation. So I've always heard the term practice makes perfect, but in this sense, is that still
that's
applicable?
a good question, because many times that's one of the fears, I think, of public speaking, too, of most people. They think they have to give a perfect presentation every time. A perfect presentation would be one that would follow the right steps, that you had everything memorized, let's say, and you didn't stammer, you didn't use what we call the filler words, the ums and the uhs and those kinds of things. But part of that is also making it real and personable. And so most times when we talk to people in conversations, we're not picture perfect with what we say. And so I don't hold that as that's the ultimate. You want it to be as perfect as possibly can be. But mainly you want it to be very clear. You don't want to bore your audience. And you want them to take something away with them. So you go back to those 3 points: clear, interesting, memorable. Yeah.
Good. So are there any tricks that you can tell our listeners that they can use while practicing their speech that would kind of help them ease their tension?
Yeah, tricks. That's good. Well, practice doesn't make perfect, but practice does give you a very effective presentation at the end after you have delivered your information to your audience. So it's important to practice. And it also relieves a lot of the anxiety if you practice. If you have a well-developed outline and you practice it, then 9 times out of 10 when you deliver it, it's going to be effective. You're going to enjoy it. The audience is going to enjoy it.
Good. One of my favorite practicing tips, actually learned from your class again,
okay,
is I used to just practice in front of all my roommates.
Yeah, exactly.
Over and over, and they would critique me over and over until I got it as good as they thought I did.
And your friends are going to be your worst critics.
They are.
So you're going to get some good input from them if you look at it constructively, and they tell you constructively. And, so practice in front of people or in front of a mirror.
Yeah.
And
that's good too.
Just as much as you feel comfortable with it. You want to know your information.
Yep.
To where if you can't look down at your notes, or if you get sidetracked a little bit, you still can come back to it because you know where you want to go.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, great. Well, this has all been such great information so far. We have to take a little break, but when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the practicing stage and then head on into the presentations.
All right.
So thank you for listening to Spokane Talks Online. We will be back shortly.
In touch, online all the time. SpokaneTalksOnline.com.
Hi, this is Kurt Stockwell with Well Dressed Walrus. We are a local website design and development company here in Spokane. What we do is build beautiful, usable websites for local businesses. A website needs to be beautiful. It needs to be usable for your users, your customers, and yourself. Contact us anytime. We'd love to talk with you about your online marketing.
A special thank you to our friends at Tom Sawyer Country Coffee, the official coffee supplier here at Spokane Talks Online.
Snoring can disrupt marriages and cause serious health problems. Call Sleep Better Northwest first, the experts in dental sleep medicine. Their medically approved, custom-fit oral appliances will have both you and your partner sleeping better and being more productive throughout your day. Don't wait. Snoring and sleep apnea can signal potential strokes or heart attacks. For more information, visit needbettersleepnow.com and download our health guide today. Sleep Better Northwest, the experts in dental sleep medicine.
Hi, welcome back to Spokane Talks Online. I'm Casey Cloninger, and I'm here with Steve Stewart from Eastern. So before break, we were talking a little bit about our go-to practicing tips, and mine was talking in front of my friends. And so I want to know what yours is.
I don't know if I talk in front of friends anymore, but my go-to practice tip, and I ride the bus a lot, and you know that. I'm a bus rider, so on the bus, mainly I just kind of ride and think about my presentations, let's say for a class, a public speaking class.
Yeah.
I know what I want to talk about in my class that particular day. So I have a little bit of an outline in front of me on a sticky note. And I'm the type of person, I don't like to write out too much, but I do like to bullet point. Yeah. And that gives me a lot of, I like flexibility, so I can tell a story here, tell a story there.
Whatever
but keep myself on point.
Yeah.
So I practice walking through that. As a matter of fact, on the bus ride down from Northside today, I was practicing looking at your questions and going through my mind, how would I answer them?
Yeah.
And that's kind of my practice that I do. You in front of friends. Other people would rather talk in front of a mirror, not have friends yet.
That's
or
true.
any kind of audience but themselves.
Yeah.
Watch their non-verbs. Watch how they kind of settle themselves so they can feel relaxed up front.
Yeah.
That kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Watch to make sure their lips aren't quivering or voice isn't cracking.
Exactly. One other thing that I also thought worked very well is when I practiced my speech, I just walked around in practice. So that way I'm not sitting in a chair and, feeling that way, and just get up and move around, and it just kind of helps it flow more easily.
Yeah. I'll do that too when I go out walking. I'll kind of go over my mind, and some people probably think I'm just talking on the phone, but I'm actually just talking to myself about what I want to say.
Whatever works.
Exactly.
So now that we've kind of gone through a little bit of the practice stage, we should move on to the presentation. So what are some things that you can do the day of the presentation to help you kind of ease the nerves?
Sure. Well, as we talked about, public speaking anxiety, it's the number one fear next to dying in the country. And there's a lot of documented scholarly evidence out there and research done that is very true. And you watch people coming into a public speaking class, and you can just tell right away that many of them have anxieties before they even walk in the door, let alone give their first presentation.
Yeah.
So your anxiety can work for you, right? So you can channel it to make it work in your favor. And there's a lot of little tips that you can do. First, you want it to kind of ease and relax as best you can. And I always say, remember, hey, relax and just enjoy the moment. Well, easier said than done, right?
Exactly.
And I do, but many students just can't get there. And I realize that now. I used to teach them this is the key. But some people never get there. Some people are always going to have high anxiety at the beginning of their speech or through it or at the end even, but they can get through it.
Yeah.
They may be exhausted afterwards and have to go take a nap. Other people like me, it pumps me up and I can go another class.
Yeah.
It excites me. So you got all these variables that are out there. So I think one of the first things to do would be breathe properly. Just breathe like you would normally breathe, because your heart rate gets up, your breathing gets sporadic. And then I have this exercise I do called QX that I learned way back in my college days, where I over-exaggerate saying Q and X. And it loosens up your facial muscles, your lips, your tongue, your neck, your shoulders, because that's where we tend to tense up also. And that keeps away the quivering lips, sometimes the shaky knees, but sometimes those are still there also.
Yep, sometimes they're uncontrollable.
Yeah, and planning purposeful movement when you're making a presentation. Just don't stand there like a statue. I had, a matter of fact, story. I had a student in my class once, I think I told your class this too, where she didn't have anything to eat for breakfast. It was a morning class. She gave a presentation. She stood stiff-legged, just like people do in weddings sometimes, and she started to go like the Leaning Tower of Pisa off to the side. And somebody in the back said, I think she's going to faint. And I was up front, and we went and we grabbed her from falling, and we sat her in the chair. The funny thing was that she was right at the climax of her story she was telling.
Oh, no.
And so I said, do you think you can gather yourself and sit in this chair and finish the story for us?
We want to know what happened. Well, did you guys ever figure out what happened?
Oh, yeah, she told the story.
Oh,
and then we found out later that she hadn't had any breakfast. She just had, I think she had a cup of coffee is all. Now, and she stood stiff-legged. She didn't bend her knees or any kind of movement up front. So that really helps.
Yeah.
And it channels that nervous energy into purposeful movement. Or have a pen in your hand like you do and like I do many times when I'm talking. Or my prop is a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And if you watch me in the classroom, sometimes I'll look for my cup of coffee. I forget where I place it. It's not a panic attack, but it's close. Where's that coffee cup? Because it's part of me now, and it's part of how I teach. So.
Yep, it's always placed random places around
I know,
class.
I forget where
it's kind
I
of
put
a guessing game a little bit.
It is.
So one thing that you kind of touched on earlier is that all these tips and like tricks that we're learning about right now, they might not work for you and they might not ease your tension all the way. People are still going to have that anxiety, but these are just tricks to help you lessen it and make it just more durable.
I get a little nervous just coming down here and getting in front of the microphone again because I've been out of this for 10 years now. But once I knew I got in front of the microphone like I am now, I get very comfortable with it. But I have the little nerves and a little anxiousness. Even though we know each other, you had some anxious moments also.
Oh, yep. I was pretty nervous on the ride down here.
Yeah.
But so one thing that I also learned from your class also that helped me was that before a speech, I'd always get up and work out that morning.
Oh, okay.
And that really worked for me. And just to get to the classroom early, because if you're running late, just everything is going wrong, it feels like, and it's just hard to get up there and give a speech after that.
And also just wearing the clothes that you feel most comfortable in.
Yes, I wanted to touch on the clothes.
Exactly, yeah. Because many times, and we're pretty relaxed out at EWU, and I'm very relaxed in what I wear to class, but for some, if they dress up just a little bit into like a business casual attire, it makes them present better. Where if they were just in a T-shirt and a pair of jeans, maybe not so much. So you have to kind of base on your personality, how you feel, what you feel comfortable in. And the story about many times when people get anxious, they start that getting red from the neck up. Or they get kind of that blotchy look around their necks. Well, you don't wear something that's going to be low cut. Just wear something up around the neck that covers that. So it doesn't draw attention because you're thinking, oh, everybody's looking at my neck. Because when you get up there, everybody thinks everybody's looking at me. Well, yeah, they are. So you try to work on it.
Exactly. And one thing that I also learned was that you always seem less nervous to the audience than you feel while you're up there.
True.
Because giving my speech, I just thought everyone was staring at me. I got nervous about what I was saying, if they didn't think it was appropriate to say,
And, remember, another good thing is anytime you make a mistake or something goes wrong up there, laugh at what you did. Laugh at yourself. Because then people will laugh with you, not at you.
That's true.
And that eases, many times, just to lessen the anxiety. I'll do something crazy or tell a story, and that'll just ease the tension. As soon as everybody laughs, and I can laugh, they can laugh, then we get into business.
Yeah, that's sometimes I try to add rather funny parts into my speeches just to get the laughter going, and it just kind of makes me feel a little bit more comfortable. And, it doesn't work out for everyone. It probably only worked out for me like a quarter of the time.
Well, every time I plan something funny, it never works.
It never works.
But if I do something that's out of the blue, it's funny.
Right?
So I try not to. It's unscripted. That's what I wanted to say.
It's weird how that works
like
that.
Though.
But, okay, this has all been such great information, Steve. Thank you. So before we get going, do you have any final advice or information that you would like to share with us?
Surely. When you're making your outline, I always say intro, body, conclusion. In your intro, I would write my introduction out. And you want it to be very engaging. That's where you get your audience. Have something to grab them right there. Tell a good story. And then your body, that's where you may want to outline your bullet points and in certain orders, and maybe have little transitions are always good to put in there too.
Yeah.
And then in your conclusion, you always want to go back and tell them what you told them. So go back and summarize the information and have something that's going to be memorable for them as they leave.
Good. And do you write out your whole conclusion too?
I do.
You
Intro
do?
and conclusion.
Okay.
Yeah. Even if I'm going to speak, say, at a memorial service about somebody that just passed, I write out the intro and close because you always know how you're going to begin and how you're going to end.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Steve, for taking the time to come in today and talk to us about America's biggest fear. I hope you listeners got some great tips and tricks that you can use in the future to help ease with any anxiety or tension that you have when getting up to speak in front of a group of people. I'm Casey Cloninger, your host, standing in for Ryan, and I want to thank you guys for listening to us today on Spokane Talks Online.
Let's Talk Spokane is produced in Spokane, Washington by SpokaneTalksOnline.com, which is solely responsible for its content. Ask us a question, recommend a guest, and hear this program again online anytime at SpokaneTalksOnline.com. Thanks for listening.
To help you be safe, Washington state law requires you to call 811 2 full business days before you plan, for example, to dig, drill, plow, pull from, or pound anything into the ground. Be prepared to provide the operator with the correct address, cross street, and the description of your work. You must mark the dig area with white paint. The operator will inform you of the utilities notified of your impending excavation. Wait for all their marks. Be safe and dig with care.